Now, I would have to imagine, or at least maybe I would like to believe, that every single one of us agrees with the notion that the Bill O'Brien trading of DeAndre Hopkins to the Arizona Cardinals and the pittance he received in return goes down in history of the NFL as one of the worst trades of all time. Already, no matter what, already one of the worst trades of all time, period. It's not Minnesota Vikings trade away the farm for Herschel Walker level of bad, but this is a bad trade. A really, really bad trade for the Houston Texans. And you have to admit, or wonder at least, the NFL teams out there, for Christ's sakes, if we knew that Nuke was going to be available, we would have either answered the call, taken the call more seriously, or made the call their damn selves and offered a little bit more if that was all it was going to take. A second round pick this year, a fourth round pick next year, and a running back that's busted up and beaten down that hasn't had a 1,000-yard season since he led the league in scrimmage yards back in 2016? Yeah! That's how bad and dumb and stupid this is. Even if DeAndre Hopkins went to Arizona and had injury problems or all of a sudden fell off the face of the earth and couldn't play football anymore, it's the notion that you have an elite wide receiver in the peak of his career, and for teams that are close or on the cusp that might need one more dynamic playmaker or a real deal number one wide receiver. On the heels of last year, the Giants getting back a first and third round pick of Brill Peppers and other considerations to trade away Odell Beckham Jr. Now, a year later, another real deal elite wide receiver. And you might argue, based off of consistency, a better receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. And the best as you could get is a 3 years past his best, David Johnson, a second-round pick this year, and a fourth-round pick next year. So, in the mind and logic of Bill O'Brien, he thought it was more important and worth more to trade away larger value draft picks in the tune of 2 first-rounders to get Laramie Tunsil, a non-elite left tackle, than it was to get in return for an actual elite wide receiver in the peak of his career. Like, this is the type of move that if an organization had competent ownership, that general manager is immediately fired. Well, in this case, the general manager is the head coach. The head coach is the general manager, and he should be fired! But what takes this trade of DeAndre Hopkins to a whole nother level of sheer stupidity and ignorance is that you see the Minnesota Vikings taking the Texans to school on how the hell you deal a wide receiver to another team. The Minnesota Vikings took Stephon Diggs, a nice player in the peak of his career, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, one of the better route runners in the league, but certainly not elite. Arguably, with Adam Thielen on the other side, might not even be the best receiver on his team. But either way, certainly not in the classification, the category of a DeAndre Hopkins. The Minnesota Vikings were able to trade Stephon Diggs to the Buffalo Bills for, along with a 7th-round pick this year, mind you, for a 1st-round pick this year. I believe it's a 5th-round pick this year, a 6th-round pick this year, and a 4th-round pick next year. DeAndre Hopkins, peak of his career, truly elite player. Bill O'Brien manages to get a 2nd-rounder this year, a 4th-rounder next year, and a beaten-up running back 3 years past his best season in David Johnson. The Minnesota Vikings turn a lesser player at the same position into a 1st-round pick, a 5th-round pick, a 6th-round pick, and a 4th round pick next year. Sure, they didn't get a beaten up, broken down running back out of the deal. I mean, that's got to be the difference maker, right? Like, that is the type of deal you would expect to turn if you're trading away a number 1A or 1B type of wide receiver to a team desperate for wide receiver help. You would expect a team like the Bills looking to get over the hump, especially now with Brady leaving the division. They feel like the time is now for them to take over the AFC East. You got a young quarterback and Josh Allen, all these other factors made the playoffs last year. It's worth the price for them, although it is curious to me that in a draft class that is really loaded at the wide receiver position, in the first few rounds especially, that this team felt it was important to go ahead and trade away multiple picks for Stephon Diggs. But nonetheless, that's the decision that they made. I can't fault them for that. I also can't fault the Minnesota Vikings for this, because it appears Stephon Diggs was unhappy, which really probably goes down to he's either a little jealous of Adam Thielen and some of the success he's enjoyed in recent years, or he just wants a new contract, which is, when in doubt, it always comes back down to money, doesn't it? And that's okay. I mean, it is what it is. Dude's only got a certain shelf life in the league. You want to get paid as much as possible, get as much guaranteed money as possible. I will not begrudge anybody for that. But the Minnesota Vikings, I most certainly will not begrudge for taking Stephon Diggs and turning him into a 1st rounder, a 5th rounder, a 6th rounder, and a 4th rounder next year. That's the hell you do a deal like this, Bob! You don't sit there for petty, stupid reasons that you surely have. We don't want to pay him. I don't like that he has his baby mamas. You know what, damn it? If all of my players play like DeAndre Hopkins, I would insist on them having Sean Kemp level of baby mama drama. Maybe not Antonio Cromartie, because we don't need those levels of stupidity. But who the hell cares? And even if that's not entirely true, the fact of the matter is a lot of us can believe it because it sure seems like it's right up Bob's wheelhouse, doesn't it? Bill O'Brien is a moron. Bill O'Brien is a clown. No surprise, coming from the Belichick coaching tree, he has all the arrogance of his system and all the arrogance of belief in himself, unlike Belichick, though, with none of the damn results. It was bad enough to see Belichick during the season panic and give away a 2nd-round pick from Mohamed Sanu. Who the hell does that? Then one of his proteges, one of his disciples, goes off and basically fives up them in the dumb dick category. Think about it like this. You stack up the trades, and you tell me how this makes any damn sense at all. The Vikings got the type of package you would expect for trading a player the caliber of Stephon Diggs. The Houston Texans looking to trade a significantly better player. I shouldn't say significantly better. I'm not trying to disrespect Diggs too much, but come on. Stephon Diggs is really good. Nuke Hopkins is arguably the best. If he's not the best, he is always in that top 3 to 5 conversation. He's elite no matter what. You can't deny it. Better player to a team just as desperate for a number 1 wide receiver in the Arizona Cardinals. And you get significantly less for him. This is like trading away Jadeveon Clowney for peanuts after you ruined that contract situation. It's just unbelievably ridiculous. I'm really frankly surprised that other teams didn't try to swoop in at the 11th hour and outbid the Cardinals. Hell, I would have. Why the hell wouldn't you? This is insane. And then a couple of days later to have another team who makes their own questionable decisions in the Minnesota Vikings at least be able to show you how the hell this should be done. I mean, if you look at this trade, fundamentally, when you compare the pieces, the premium pick that the Vikings got back for the Bills was better for a lesser player than the premium pick the Texans got back for the superior player. The premium pick in that deal was a 2nd rounder in 2020. The Vikings got a 1st rounder. Then the Vikings got a total of 3 other draft picks, only having had to give up a 7th rounder in 2020. They got a 5th and a 6th and a 4th next year. Whereas the Houston Texans get David Johnson. And at this point, why the hell would you even trade a 5th and 6th round pick for David Johnson? Look, I like David Johnson coming out of Northern Iowa. He came into the league. He looked like he was going to be something. The reality right now is that the last 3 years, he has not been the same player, period. The wrist injury, missed most of 2017. 2018 didn't look the same. 2019, he was really bad. Better premium pick for lesser player. A whole round's difference. Both teams get a 4th round pick next year. And at this point, would you rather have David Johnson or a 5th and 6th round pick? This is just unbelievable. Bill O'Brien trading DeAndre Hopkins already was bad enough. But to basically get pimp slapped around by competency, by of all things, the Minnesota Vikings just a couple of days later doing a similar type of thing with a lesser player, just shows how crazy it is that Bill O'Brien has a damn job.